This is a funny one. Because it's not like the best, it's not like it doesn't start off as in positive light, but 1995, Nike released the Air Jordan 11, right? And it was like, Michael Jordan was famous, and it was like a really coveted pair of shoes. And my parents did not get them for me, right? And their rationale was, they're too expensive, it's not a practical shoe, and it's not a way we want to allocate the cash in the house. As soon as I turned 14, I had to get a part-time job. You know what, I'm not gonna let my parents or like our, budget constraints of our household, restrict me from getting like these Air Jordans that I really, really want. So through that, my parents instilled in me like a good work ethic. I got a part-time job, and then I was able in subsequent years to achieve and get the sneakers that I wanted. So that's something that still kind of motivates me today. You can't always have what you want in the moment,
My life turned out to be pretty interesting. Again, it's largely a matter of luck, but really weird stuff kept happening to me, which kept sort of, me interested in going forward. From being accused of plotting against Her Majesty, and then being able to clear my name and having been granted audience with the Queen, to defending my president during a coup on the barricade against the armed insurrection, to telling the, I believe, Speaker of US Congress to have relations with himself when he was distracting me from my work. It just keeps happening to me. I have no explanation to why. Makes things interesting.
So there was a time when I had some immigration issues. So I'm originally from Costa Rica. Grew up in a upper middle class, very privileged upbringing. I had always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to go to grad school here, so I applied for a Fulbright scholarship, and I got it, which is a really cool scholarship, and I came here, did my master's and my PhD. Kind of shifting from that, privileged position to becoming a minority was very interesting. And, it started off as like, I would get questions like, where are you really from? Why do you speak English so well? And like, oh, that's, I remember like once an immigration officer asking me like, hey, do you speak enough English to do a PhD? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can. I thought about a lot of different answers to that question at that point, but I just kind of said that. And later on, I sort of realized that those are sort of like perhaps, microaggressions of like people kind of like not being able to fit you in. I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't look Mexican enough or whatever, or I didn't fit in whatever mold they had. When I proposed to my now wife and we got engaged, I remember some of her coworkers asking her like, oh, is he doing it because he needs a visa kind of thing? And like sort of weird things, right? And I did my school here, my master's, my PhD, and then they let you work for a while and stuff. But one of the things about the scholarship that I had was that it required me to go back to my home country. So I tried navigating that weird, very unforgiving environment of immigration and trying to figure out ways of staying and like, and even here at Google, like I remember like talking to my HRBP and whatever that very last meeting we had, she was like, I'm sorry, we can't do anything for you. And thinking like, okay, I'm gonna have to like uproot my life. At that point I was like married, had a child, had a home here in Chicago, and then had to like, pick up and pack all your things and leave. I remember sort of like when everyone left that room, or that meeting room, like sort of I was stay there and I cried a little bit, and I don't think I've ever cried in the office before. Just sort of feeling of overwhelmed, and it was just scary, It ended up being fine. Like, I was, I moved back, and my whole family, all my circles of support are down there, so that was awesome. And I worked there for a while, and my wife and my kid came with me, and it ended up being 2.5 years. It was great memories and experiences, but at the time it didn't quite feel that way.
Something that's not widely accepted within the culture of Christianity and being Korean is the whole LGBT conversation that most people don't have within that community. I was born and raised in Chicago, so a big motive for me to move back to Chicago was, one, to get out of Vegas. Two, I have friends out here, but also I have a girlfriend that's out here, and her parents found out, and her parents are pastors. And so that caused a lot of drama. And so I came out here just to support her and just to help with the whole situation. It's still ongoing, but I think trying to figure out what's okay with what I believe in and trying to be the best person that I could be. Me being a former youth leader and counselor, and I have all these youth kids that, so just finding where I stand within all of that has caused a lot of heartache.
So my husband, about 3 years ago, left his corporate architecture career after kind of a successful run of 20 years. He had decided that he was ready for something new, and so now he's the owner of a small business, and he's a one-man show. He does everything: operations, HR, management, recruiting, maintenance and plumbing, marketing, everything you can think of, and it's all on him. It's amazing to see his resilience and see what he does every day. And he does so much for our family. It wouldn't be possible for me to have the career at Google that I have without what he does for us. So it's really inspiring.
My husband, he has a way to share his words with me. He always makes sure that I'm happy and that I'm, even though I'm working so hard and traveling so much, that when I'm here, I'm spending quality time with him, and that he just shows me little things that sort of helps me remember what makes me so happy, right? Whether it's walking the park, going for a stroll at the park, or working out together, things like that.